History tells the story of the world and of our lives. Sometimes that history goes bump in the night. Broadcasting from the center of oddity and the supernatural in Central Florida, it's the History Goes Bump podcast.
Hello, you spooktacular people. Welcome to History Goes Bump Redux. I am your host, Diane.
And this is Kelly.
Kelly, on this Redux, we're going to be presenting two locations that we'd done previously. They are located in Boone, North Carolina. This is the Moses Cone Manor and Appalachian State University. Are you ready to go back?
I'm ready. Boone, North Carolina is nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, in an area of the state locals refer to as the High Country. Boone and the surrounding areas seem to be a hotbed for strange occurrences, tragic deaths, and hauntings almost as chilling as the mountain air. Two prominent locations that we covered from this town are Moses Cone Manor, featured in episode 62, and Appalachian State University, featured on episode 202. These locations are not only surrounded by beauty, but they have spirits. And we thought it would be fun to revisit both on this Redux.
Mountain shadows stretching long and thin on these paths where sorrow's tale begins. The night air heavy can't shake your ghost. Our love's echo what I miss the most. Each brook's babble like words we said. The memories swirl round and round in my head. I've been walking under moonside, tears fall in the Appalachian mist. Lost them with each step, I wander, not sure which trail will lead to bliss.
The town of Boone was named for Daniel Boone. Located in the high country, Boone is known for its beautiful climate and easily accessible outdoor activities, which has made it a major vacation destination for those in North Carolina and from all throughout the southeast United States. The settlement of the high country of North Carolina is thought to date back 13,500 years. Artifacts have been discovered dating to this time and serve as an indicator of tribal activity in the mountains of the state. During colonial times, this was an area inhabited by the Cherokee and Shawnee tribes who used the mountains for hunting in the summer months. A treaty signed in 1770 between the British and the Cherokee prohibited the settlement of most of this region. However, settlers poured in anyway. In 1780, a British militia leader named Major Patrick Ferguson ordered the illegal settlers to lay down their weapons and vacate the area. This did not go over well, and the settlers formed a militia they named the Over Mountain Men. They marched against Ferguson's troops on October 7, 1780, in Kings Mountain, North Carolina, which is located on the North Carolina and South Carolina border. It was a decisive victory for the settlers, and the battle is credited with causing General Cornwallis to pull out of North Carolina. That's pretty big.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This preceded the American victory at the Battle of Yorktown in 1781.
After the Revolution, many veterans were given land as payment for their service, and they returned to continue settling the area. The settlers set up an economy, trading hides and other resources like timber and stone across the state borders with Tennessee and Virginia. Daniel Boone, though born in Pennsylvania, had moved with his family to the Yadkin Valley area of North Carolina as a young man in 1750. He became a long hunter, which meant he explored and hunted the American frontier for as long as 6 months at a time.
And he's the most famous long hunter in history.
He spent a good deal of time hunting in the high country as well, setting up camp in a small town named Meat Camp, just north of modern-day Boone, North Carolina. Daniel Boone hunted in this area from 1750 to 1779 when he moved his family to Kentucky.
His namesake town was formed in 1872 on the banks of the Watauga River, which in Cherokee means beautiful water. It is the county seat of Watauga County and sits at an elevation of 3,332 feet. It was serviced by a small railroad that cut through the town, nicknamed Tweetsie, until a large flood in 1940. Most of the tracks were washed away by the floodwaters, and it was decided that they would not be replaced. Boone now has a local theme park open in the summer called Tweetsie Railroad. It's an attraction primarily for small children that essentially acts as an interactive cowboy town. Boone also plays host to Horn in the West. This is an outdoor drama that depicts the lives of early settlers in the area, as well as explores the history of Daniel Boone himself. This production has been put on every summer since 1952. Boone is also the center of bluegrass music and culture in North Carolina. Doc Watson, one of the most pivotal bluegrass creators in music history, was a native of Boone. The group Old Crow Medicine Show was also discovered in Boone. While many may not know their name, they co-wrote with Bob Dylan the song Wagon Wheel, which was covered by Darius Rucker in 2013 with backup vocals from Lady A. I guarantee you guys have heard that song.
Guarantee it.
I guarantee it. And the video by Old Crow Medicine Show of them singing that Wagon Wheel is a really cool one because it's kind of like they're out in a field somewhere and they're hosting a burlesque show.
Oh.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool video.
At the center of Boone sits Appalachian State University. Blanford B. Doherty and his brother Dauphin D. Doherty recognized that northwestern North Carolina did not have a good place of education. They gathered a group together to work towards building a school. They convinced their father, Daniel B. Doherty, and another man named J.F. Hardin to donate land for the building of that school. They constructed a wood frame structure that cost them $1,000, which they raised from nearby citizens. The Doherty brothers decided to co-principal the school, and it opened in the fall of 1899. They named it Watauga Academy. The academy offered 3 grades and enrolled 53 students that first year. Dauphin was convinced that they could eventually get the state to fund a bigger institution. He went to the Capitol, pleaded his case, and the Appalachian Training School for Teachers was established. The school opened on October 5, 1903, with $2,000 from the state and 325 students.
In 1925, the school name was changed to Appalachian State Normal School. This was a 2-year school for educating teachers. It later expanded to 4 years and again had the name changed to Appalachian State Teachers College. Through all these changes, Blanchard Doherty was there. He presided over the school for 50 years. Dr. William H. Plemons became president of the school in 1955, and he oversaw the transformation from a single-purpose teachers' college into a multi-purpose regional university. 25 construction projects took place during his tenure, and he became known as the Builder President. Enrollment grew to 5,000 students at that time. In 1966, fire destroyed the administration building, and in 1971, the university became part of the University of North Carolina system. Dr. Herbert W. Way became president around that time, and the innovation he brought earned Appalachian State national recognition as an institution of change, and enrollment was doubled to 9,500 people.
The university would eventually garner recognition in U.S. News and World Report and other publications as a top comprehensive university. The university's emphasis on international education led the American Council on Education to recognize Appalachian as a modern institution for international studies. Time magazine named Appalachian a College of the Year in 2001. Today, the university has one of the highest elevations among American schools and enrolls around 18,000 students. Over its years of operation, it has been the host of plenty of tragedy, which may explain why there's so much paranormal activity here. Many people have blamed the long winters and periods of extended cold and darkness for the number of suicides and deaths on the campus. Our listener Stephen Pappas had attended the university and shared with us on the original episode that the year after he graduated, they had 11 deaths, 9 of which were suicide.
It's just so tragic to have that going on at a university.
One girl went missing for a month before they found her hanging in the university woods.
The most famous paranormal activity on campus is in East Hall. A story claims there was a suicide pact where 6 students killed each other in the basement to open a portal to hell. That was just a story, but the truth was that a student did indeed kill himself in the basement. Thankfully, it was just one, not a whole bunch. There are reports of odd footsteps which seem like they are coming from inside walls or where there's no hallway. There's the apparition of a young man who's been seen in the third-floor bathroom, causing all sorts of panic, and students refer to him as Michael. I wonder if it's, our Michael from Halloween.
Oh, good grief.
There are also reports of floating lights seen hovering in the windows of the basement.
Across the road from East Hall used to be Coffee Hall. It was torn down, but when it was still standing, students claimed that there was a ghost here that professors had nicknamed Max. He had hung himself in his room on the second floor in the 1970s. That room had been 204, and anyone who lived in it reported the lights turning on and off in the middle of the night, the TV volume shooting up and down, or the TV turning on and off all night also. They considered Max a friendly spirit, but just a little mischievous. There have been no ghost reports in the building that now stands in its place.
Stephen lived in Eggers Hall his freshman year, and he was told by a school historian that a girl had thrown herself from the 9th floor in the mid-1990s. Friends who lived upstairs told him about all kinds of problems with showers turning on and off and doors slamming. Also that year, a large crack appeared in the building around the 9th floor. Contractors worked on it for about 5 months, during which time they built a wooden tunnel to walk through because bricks were falling left and right. People made all kinds of morbid jokes about the sound of the bricks hitting the tunnel being the young woman throwing herself off the building again.
I don't think that's funny.
I don't think it's funny either, but I guess, that's why you call them morbid jokes.
Dowden Hall is said to be haunted. Duskblade95 shared on Reddit, "We had a couple of weird experiences in Dowden Hall. Used to have what sounded like someone slammed something into your door, usually late at night when the lobby was empty. But even if you got to the door within a couple seconds, the hall would be empty. This was on the second floor, and the only way to get off the floor was through 2 heavy fire doors leading to the stairwell. So even if you didn't see who did it, you would be able to hear that door opening and closing or hear them running down the hall, but never did. Happened to several people, including the RA, throughout the semester."
I.G. Greer is a classroom building that has a large auditorium in it. This is now used for large classes, but it used to be the original school of music on campus. The story goes there was a young couple who was engaged to be married. She was a piano major, and her fiancé would sit in the same seat every time she had a recital to ease her nerves. She could always look up, see him, and relax. Well, he had to go down to Wilkesboro for a wedding-related meeting on the day of one of her recitals, but he assured her he would be back in time. Right before the show, she saw him slip in and sit in his seat. She went on with the performance, but afterwards she received word that he had been killed in a car accident on the way back to Boone that evening. So clearly, he was dead. That was his ghost. Well, now that seat behaves oddly. It doesn't seem to go up and down at the will of the person trying to sit in it, and without fail, people report getting sick after sitting in it during classes or movies. And another piece of ghost lore from this building claims that there was a very dedicated student who would practice every single day in the recital rooms in Greer on the second floor. The student was killed in a car accident, but his ghost continued to go to a practice room every day. When the music building moved to its current location, he moved as well and likes to stop the elevator on the second floor.
Stephen also shared with us, "During my time at App, I was a leader in my campus ministry. We had a small building on campus, and it is where we spent the majority of our downtime playing ping pong or watching TV. It's where I met my wife. Anyway, while it wasn't supposed to be shared with incoming students, we all knew that the building had a bit of a dark history. The campus minister who came before the minister who preceded ours had died in the building. He had hung himself in the stairwell one night, and the students found him the next day. Well, let's just say weird stuff went on there sometimes. Just sounds that came from nowhere more than anything. But God help you if you were in the building alone at night and had to go up the stairs. I always felt something watching me, or like I wasn't alone in that stairwell. It still gives me the creeps just thinking about it."
And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors. So that was Appalachian State University. Now on to Moses Cone Manor, which I actually got to visit when I was in Boone. It's a really cute town, and obviously it's gorgeous because you got the Blue Ridge Mountains there. And this house just looks like it doesn't even belong there, because when you're in the mountains, you expect to see like a little cabin or something.
Sure.
This is a really grand place. Moses Cone Manor is also known as Flat Top Manor, and it's located in the Blue Ridge National Heritage Area in North Carolina. It's a beautiful mansion built by Moses Cone at the turn of the last century. Moses Cone was born on June 29th in 1857 in Jonesboro, Tennessee. He was born into a German Jewish family. Both of his parents were born in Germany and immigrated with their families to America, where they met and married. Moses was the eldest of 13 children. Cone's father became a successful grocer and moved his family to Baltimore, Maryland, where his success expanded. Moses and his brother Caesar became traveling salesmen for that business. Moses learned a lot about business from his father, and he became a successful entrepreneur in the textile business. He met a girl named Bertha, and he decided that he wanted to marry her, but she wasn't having it. It would take him 4 years to convince her to marry him. Moses decided he wanted to invest in some southern textile mills, and he convinced his brother to partner with him. Those mills specialized in a textile that was perfect for blue-collar workers, denim, something we all happen to love today. By the late 19th century, Moses was known as the Denim King. He opened a firm in Greensboro, North Carolina, and entered into a business relationship with the Levi Strauss Company that continues to this day. Life was good for Moses, but he did not live a long life. He died at 51 in 1908 from a pulmonary edema.
7 years before his death, Moses built Flat Top Manor. Moses began buying up land in Blowing Rock, North Carolina in the 1890s, and part of that land included Flat Top Mountain, for which the manor was named. The home was built in the colonial revivalist style and cost $25,000 to build. The house features large white columns and leaded glass windows. Amenities included gas lighting and central heating, and there was also a telephone. The house had 23 rooms and included 13,000 square feet of living space. Horse-drawn wagons had to bring in all the construction material and furnishings.
Imagine how long that took.
A long time. There were several outbuildings that included employee housing, a washing house, and a single-lane bowling alley.
Which doesn't exist anymore. I would have loved to have seen a single bowling alley there. Single-lane bowling alley. Moses had wanted to be buried on the property, and he picked the spot several years before his death. Rumors circulated after Moses' death that he had been buried with a treasure of jewels. So one night, some grave robbers came and dug up his grave in hopes of finding the treasure. All they found was the corpse of Moses Cone. Out of frustration, they propped the body up against his tombstone rather than burying him again. His poor wife Bertha is the one who found him. No one is sure whether he was buried in the same spot again or moved to a different location. What a horrible thing for Bertha.
I know. Golly. Terrible people.
The property today is a memorial park managed by the National Park Service and Southern Highland Craft Guild, and they sell fine American crafts and offer demonstrations from Memorial Day to October. The origins of the guild date back to 1895, when the Industrial Revolution disrupted the farming economy of the Appalachians, resulting in widespread poverty. A missionary named Frances Goodrich traveled to the region and, finding herself in an impoverished but unique culture, set out to bring about what's missing. She engaged the community by using sewing, mending, and most significantly, weaving. She set up shop in what would soon be the Allenstand Cottage Industries to sell her wares. After the next 2.5 decades, Goodrich grew the business, inviting in other crafts and becoming a leading influencer in the craft revival movement. There's also the cemetery here and 25 miles of well-planned carriage roads, 2 man-made lakes, and apple orchards on the property.
There have been several paranormal occurrences on the property. Separate portraits of Moses and Bertha hung face-to-face on opposite walls for many years. Someone moved the portraits one day to another wall, but not across from each other. The next day, the portraits were found on the floor, leaning against each other. No one could explain how this could have happened.
It might have taken Moses 4 years to get Bertha to marry him, but clearly she must have loved him, because they were like, don't take us away from being able to stare at each other lovingly across the hallway. They were like, we're going to be together no matter what, so you better put us together. Moses is still on the property in spirit, and his apparition has been seen by many people. Stephen shared with us some of these experiences, so he joined us for both of these episodes. All of them were told by people who did not know each other but had similar experiences. Stephen has been told that they walked up to the grave of Moses Cone there on the property without a flashlight to try and see something. All of these people claim the same thing. They all claim a man dressed in old-timey clothes walked up and offered to walk them back down to the manor. Then when they had gotten back, he bid them farewell, walking toward the stables and disappearing right in front of them. Stephen also told us about how he and some other guys would bring freshmen up to the property to try and scare the hell out of them. Occasionally, they saw curtains move. They would make up crazy stories about fake owners and fake deaths to add creep to the atmosphere. Once, the lights all turned out. Apparently, a timer was connected to the lights, but that didn't stop all of them from running for their lives. They also found an old pair of shoes from a bygone era sitting on the porch. So I don't know if those were some antique shoes that just got left outside or what happened there, but
Interesting.
he did say, and I do remember him telling us that they would go up there and be like, oh, telling all these creepy stories to these kids. And then every so often they would see the curtains moving and they're like, we don't know how that was happening.
Stephen told us about the experience a crafter who stayed overnight had in the manor. The bedroom door opened in the middle of the night, waking him from slumber. He checked to see if a draft had opened the door, but there was none. He closed the door and went back to bed. A little later, the door opened again. He checked to make sure that everything was level and closed the door yet again. Sometime later, it opened a third time, and this time he shoved a chair under the doorknob. When he awakened in the morning, the door was wide open and the chair was sitting in the opposite corner.
Maybe after the second time you just leave the door open. Why start a fight with a ghost?
True.
You're lucky they didn't just throw you out of the bed. Other crafters have stayed overnight when the weather was bad and they heard furniture moving around on the second floor, even though nothing is on that floor anymore. And I don't know if that's the case now. This was when we went and visited and when we did the original episode. I have heard that they've refurbished the upstairs, so maybe there is something up there now. Another woman was staying overnight alone and she thought the talk of ghosts was ridiculous. She took a hot shower and became a believer when she saw a handprint in the steam on the window. She never came back to the manor. Disembodied music has been heard tinkling inside the manor, although no piano exists. Stephen told us that the Cones were lovers of music and played often, so there probably was a piano here at one time, and maybe that's what they're hearing now.
The ghost of a little girl has been experienced on the property as well. One night, the alarm was tripped, so the park ranger on duty went to investigate. He found nothing. But when he locked the front door, he caught the reflection of a young girl in the window who appeared to be standing behind him. He turned around and she dashed past him through the door and she ran up the stairs where she entered another room. He ran after her, thinking she was some kind of lost kid, and when he went into the room, he found nothing. She had just disappeared.
Now here's the interesting thing. The story starts off telling us that he was locking the front door, which means the door's closed and he's locked it. Did he not sit there and think, how did that kid just get inside the house?
How did she run right through the door?
Yeah, I mean, she had to have run right through the door. On the Ghost Hunters of Boone website, Mike made the following comment. While at ASU in the 90s, I went there one day while it was open. I was in a photography class and wanted to photograph the house. I took a friend with me. And that kind of puts these two locations in this episode together because he went to both places. She always claimed to speak to ghosts. She had never been to the house or heard of it. First thing she said before walking in was, "There's something upstairs." I asked her what. She said a little girl. Then she said there was another, an older woman. Then she said, "Let's go," and was out the door. She said the third thing scared her. I don't want to know what that was.
The Moses Cone Manor is a magnificent structure. Does it hold more than just the memories of the couple who once lived there? Are Bertha and Moses still living in their home in the afterlife? Is something else in residence at the home? And how about Appalachian State University? Are students just imagining these strange events? Are these two locations in Boone haunted?
That is for you to decide. Well, if you go to the university, let us know if you had any experiences there and if you've been to Moses Cone Manor. We'd love to hear about that as well, especially if there's, a refurbishment has taken place on that second floor, what have you. When I went, we couldn't go up there. I would have loved to have gone up there and done some investigating because clearly there's a little girl up there somewhere. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this Redux. I've been your host, Diane.
And this has been Kelly.
You take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.